Welcome to Second Life Upcycling. In this upcycling series, I'll show you how I refashioned activewear that I picked up thrifting and upcycled them so they better suited my needs and style. I like my activewear to take me from hanging at home to coffee with a friend or a trip to the shops. Each of these projects is really quick, simple, and suitable for beginner sewers. I picked up this sweater for a few dollars from my local thrift store. It had clearly been well loved because it was stretched out of shape and the fabric was covered in pilling balls. I loved the spearmint colour though and couldn't resist buying it. The first step was to get rid of the pilling. To do this, I always use a standard razor to remove them, simply scraping it over the fabric. I recommend testing the process on an unseen piece of fabric just to make sure the razor won't damage it. Next, I took in the side seams to reduce the width so it fit me a little better. Then I cut off the ribbed fabric along the bottom hem. This was all stretched out of shape. Then I sewed a new bottom seam, ensuring it was wide enough to accommodate the new tie for the waist. To accommodate the new hole for the waist tie at the front, I marked the centre of the bottom hem with chalk and I then cut a vertical hole. To finish off the hole, I used the buttonhole stitch on my sewing machine. To make the waist tie, I used the bottom ribbed section I cut off previously. This was then threaded through the new bottom hem. And finally, I cut off the ribbing from the bottom of each sleeve. This was also really stretched, and I added a new elasticated hem. And here it is finished. I see sweaters like this all the time when thrifting, and if I love the colour, I will definitely be picking up more of them. I picked up these tracksuit pants at my local thrift store for $3. They were too big and not a style that I would really wear. The first step in the upcycling of these track pants was to take in the inside leg seam to remove the flare at the bottom and make them more straight-legged. This made a big difference. Next, I made them shorter, using a pair of track pants that I liked the length of as a guide. You'll see I took quite a lot off the bottom of these pants. I then pinned and sewed a new hem. Fleecy fabric is really easy to work with and, best of all, doesn't fray, so I only had to sew a single hem. I then threaded elastic through the new bottom leg seam. This nipped in the leg seam at the bottom, which I really liked. And finally, I found a new tie for the waist and I'm done. All up, this upcycling project took me about 40 minutes and I've got a new pair of comfy pants. I couldn't be happier. I picked up this sweater for $1 while on a recent country town thrift run. Clothes in Sydney op shops are quite expensive, so it's worthwhile getting out of the city every once in a while. The first step was to remove all the pilling. Pilling is those little balls that form on fabric after years of wear and washing. To do this, I simply use a razor. I would recommend checking first on a section of non-visible fabric just in case. I didn't like the neckline, so decided to sew a new one by folding the neck ribbing in. Also, it was a bit stretched out of shape. I top stitched this in place on the machine, and I was much happier with the V-neck. Using a jumper that I like the length of, I reduced the bottom hem length. Often I create an elastic waistband at the bottom, but to make this sweater more versatile, I decided to add a tie-up waistband that could be adjusted. This way I can make it as tight or loose as I want. I can also have it showing or tuck the ribbon under. To make the waistband tie, I used a scrap of fabric I cut from the bottom of a dress that I re-hemmed. I thought the pink would add a pop of colour. I then threaded the new waist tie through the bottom seam so it tied at the side. Next, I reduced the length of the sleeves and sewed a new sleeve hem. I went with my favourite go-to sleeve by threading elastic through. I love this option because it means you can wear the sleeves down or push them up and they stay in place. It's so easy to do and the finished result is super practical. And finally, I removed the blue buttons and replaced them with some hot pink ones that matched the new bottom hem tie. And here it is finished. I'm so happy with how this turned out. All up, this upcycling project probably took me around 40 minutes or so. While it's not the prettiest of sweaters, it was an easy way to repurpose an old sweater that would probably have ended up in landfill. Best of all, it's the perfect match for the tracksuit pants I upcycled recently. If you'd like to see more upcycling videos like this, please throw me a thumbs up. It lets me know what videos people like to see. I upload upcycling and sewing tutorials weekly, so for more inspiration, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an update. Thanks for watching.